for people watching on YouTube. Thank you. Might be record numbers if we keep this up. Move to the front of the field, see what's going on. So as I was saying at the start, largely flat course, a little bit undulating. Riders do go up half of the KOM. That's the only really significant, the KOM reverse. Significant climbers O'Brien. And of the Cat A riders, I think it's Charles and Jury. So we'll try and find them up towards the front. O'Brien's up there, as is Davis. There is Jury. Just catch her on screen. No sign of Charles as yet, but Jury riding very nicely. Experienced racer sitting there. Suppose never comfortably in the first few minutes of a Zwift race, but as comfortable as one can be. At 1.8 kilometers, 210 watts, heart up at 156 beats per minute. So Ware lurking around at the front there as well, as is Langen, doing quite nicely. There is our first look at Langen, and there's Walker beginning to drift away from that front bunch, pulling ahead of Watts though. And who have we got there? Is that Gavin Wilkinson? I think it is. No, I would suspect he is capable of catching up with Watts, but we'll see what happens. Sampson and of course Shannon and Littlewood next to each other. So these groups, these riders beginning to splinter into little subgroups already. So this is the Littlewood Shannon group, if we can call it that. Not quite a group, but some riders to the rear there coming up. And there's Empson, I believe it is, or is it Sampson? Hold on. Can't see in the name, it's half a name. Oh, it's Sampson. I thought I'd seen Empson appear, but no. So let's get a sense of what's going on now. So from Sampson we have Shannon, Watts 2 seconds behind. Sorry, Shannon's there. Watts is a further 2 seconds behind. Along in this group as well is Littlewood and Wilkinson. These 5-6 riders. Some PRs coming out here already. White. There is White on screen. Just, I think that's a sprint banner that's just gone past. It is indeed. See on the left-hand side of the screen, sprint times as they're coming up. Wilkinson 13.91. Measham, a nice result for him at 13.91. Top BCC rider, someone in the Cheetahs, can't see who it is until the name scrolls across, but at 12.61. Here we go, we'll get the rider now. If it doesn't change, it changed, so we'll leave that for now. Measham getting faster all the time. Some of you other riders around him, but here is always an expert rider in my mind, Jones. Cat C, 3.1 kilometers in, knows exactly what he's doing. And there is Smith ahead of Lay. Now, in fact, there looking ahead is Smith flying the South African flag, just about to be consumed by this larger bunch, including Lay. He will do well. Let's have a look and see what happens from his perspective. He will do well to hang on to the back of, or latch onto the back of this group. So up the power right now, or you won't make it. And he does just that, up out the saddle briefly. Knows the rest of the group is around him. And I think has managed to tuck himself in there quite nicely. That's probably a good strategy for his part. Just got to hold out now for another 19 odd kilometers. I think these will likely be... there is Telford actually. I was saying at the start that was competition for Smith, but he's well off the pace compared to the other two, at least 25 seconds behind. So if Smith and Lay can hold this up, sounds a bit like a law firm, they'll be doing quite well to stay ahead of Telford. Now, that's what's happening at the rear of the field. 120 riders in the field in total. About, I think, last count, 22 from BCC. Moving forward, Hindley not as far up the field as I would expect him to be at this stage for a Cat B rider, surrounded by C's and D's. One of those being, or two of them I should say, up ahead of him, Sampson, Shannon, Wilkinson's there as well, and Littlewood's, a whole collection of BCC riders in this group. That is Shannon, but he also knows what he is doing, so he'll be in no hurry to pull away from this group, I suspect. Walker, right, Ware looks a bit isolated. This is, I think, the reverse KOM, or half the reverse KOM, coming in at 5.3 kilometers. The climb starts at around 4.4, I think. But clearly, this is going to separate the riders. That's Langen has Ware in sight just ahead of him and is responding to that challenge as the climb reaches 11%. It's brief, but nonetheless still makes a difference at this sort of speed. Is he gaining on Ware? No, he isn't. Not at this stage. Looking back from Ware's perspective, that is a view of Langen in black. Again, up out of the saddle, trying to close that gap. 328 watts from Ware. And you're somewhat larger, taller is perhaps a better way of saying it, than Langen. So Langen, in by comparison, if I can get my mouse to click, it won't, 193 watts, just as he comes over the ridge of the hill. But Ware has managed to pull out another second on him, so good riding from him. There's Smith. I was wondering where he was. Up sort of mid-front towards the bees, I think, taking advantage of super tuck down the hill, which all riders should really. If you're not super tucking, you're wasting energy. Not much gain from pedaling on these short downhills, but there is an awful lot to be gained from having just a few seconds rest. Gradient needs to be over 3%, and I think it's 62 kilometers per hour it kicks in. And I suspect now the front riders, let's have a look at O'Brien at 6.8 kilometers, 6.9. Jury's there. Davis undoubtedly is lurking somewhere. Can't see him at the moment. But Jury on 7.1 kilometers, now coming into the second lap of this race. And there is Charles, in fact. Just caught sight of him. He's been hiding away. Didn't want me to mention him, undoubtedly. Where is he? Gone again. There he is. So riding nicely. This is a rider that's been getting stronger and stronger since he joined Zwift. Clearly obvious. Now firmly in Cat A, which is where we expect him to do well. And there's Jury, actually a few riders behind in the same group, though, just got the green jersey. Now at 7.5 kilometers, 45 kilometers per hour, 9 minutes 44 seconds into the race. Still looking at Charles with Davis right next to him. Quite why he's not in Cat B, I say every week, but I just don't know. And now up to 8 viewers on YouTube. Thank you very much. Might reach double figures by the end of this race. Right, let's see who is not pulling their weight. Leave the group. That is the front. Oh no, it's not the front group. That's 16. It is the front group, sorry. Front group of around 25 riders, something of that nature. Just keep an eye on where they are. 8.1 kilometers into the second lap. Only a 3-lap race, if you all recall. So O'Brien is how far off that front group is he? In fact, there, he can see the front group just going around the corner, 6 seconds ahead of him. Don't think he's going to catch back on. In fact, there's Roland. I hadn't seen him at the start. Another another late entry, Cat A. No, he really should be up in that front group. Strong rider, certainly capable. Maybe missed the, didn't get the jump on the start as they now begin to pull up this small incline. It's undulating in this section of the course, but as it moves back towards the route up to the volcano, that's where the climb is. And Smith found a small cohort of friends, 28 seconds behind him. Langen in Cat C Right along next to him is Ware, Walker, Hindley, further 18 seconds further back. He is next to Littlewood. Sampson's in there. Shannon. Wilkinson riding nicely. Watts. Now where is Watts? White, further 15 seconds back. Ah, there is Watts. There's Measham, Cat C, and Watts 5 seconds behind Measham. Not sure what he's doing, but you really should be going a bit faster, Al. So pedal on. Jones further 1 minute back. Now, so Smith and Lay are still together in Cat D. That's good to see. If Smith can hang on in this group with Lay, he will be doing very well. Great confidence boost. And they, to give an indication, are someone else with BCC at the end of the name. I don't think it's one of our riders though. They are 24 seconds ahead of, in fact I think it's more, might be about 1 minute 24 seconds ahead of Telford. So these riders, these two riders, are doing very nicely indeed. In about 89th position overall. And Watts again. Through this undulating section, 8.5k, 13 minutes in for the fastest riders. I'd expect this ride to be over in 30 minutes. Walker, and is that Langan, I think, next to him? It is indeed Langan right there. Smith. And I just saw Roland just ahead. There's the sprint banner, O'Brien. There he is on screen now. Some 30 seconds behind Davis and Jury and Charles. Can't see him on the screen at the moment, but I've no doubt he's in there. Let's see if we can find him. There's Jury. Where is Charles? There is Charles, currently in 17th position. That's just nominal, really, in the sense that he's right in the thick of this group, along with Davis and Jury. So for all intensive purposes, up the front, though, there is a rider who's just gone on a bit of a push off the front. Let's see who that is. That is Lewin, up at 6 watts per kilo. Fancies his chances clearly, is pulling away on this incline. That may well be a tactical move. Is he getting a gap? He's got a 2-second gap. No response from the peloton. No one is attempting to bridge the gap. Lewin has managed to pull out 3 seconds, is backing off the power slightly, may well be comfortable sitting in that position, but it's still going to be a tough haul in a crit race to stay ahead of a peloton of that size. But if they're not careful, that gap's going up to 4 seconds, wiggling his elbow, I think I saw there. Well, there's no one behind you, mate, so that's not going to happen. Yes, he's got the gap up to 4 seconds. This, on the downhill section here, this little downhill, might close slightly. Jury sitting comfortably in the middle of this group, and Lewin just trying to stop the screen jumping around, still 3-4 seconds ahead. I think the gap is closing slightly. Wouldn't say an ill-advised attack, but worth doing occasionally just to see how the other riders respond. Gives a measure of who might come after you. Charles, 240 watts, heart up at 169. That's you can push that a little bit more, but not much. Mentioning hearts, I'm pleased to be here today, of course, as many of you know. But we'll be back on the bike next week, I think. Hopefully. O'Brien maintaining the gap from the front group, increased slightly, but not much. Further 30 seconds behind him is Smith. Found himself a small group to ride with. But it's further back where all the action seems to be, with Ware, Langan, Walker, Wilkinson, Hindley, Shannon, Sampson, 20 seconds further back, White, Measham, all doing quite well actually. Watts, what's happening to Watts? Now he's by himself and drifting further off the field. I think I might give him a ring and tell him how to go a bit faster. It's just cold pedalling. Smith, let's see how Smith's doing. Can't ignore the relatives. Smith and Lay, the law firm. There's Smith. There's Lay. Jones, is he in there as well? I thought I saw him further ahead earlier. But no, he's still, or is he 14 seconds ahead now? Let's see what it says once all the thumbs up and PR banners have gone past. So Jones. No, he is. No, he is. Yes, he is with Lay and Smith. So maybe it's the law firm of Smith, Lay and Jones. Maybe Smith, Jones and Lay. I'll think about that. And that is the back of the field. Sorry, Telford. Apologies, I forgot about you. I think looks as if he's taking a little bit easier. No one to race, but good for him. He's still out there racing. This will be the finish banner when it comes round again, I think. Cross that bridge. I think that's where it finishes. Right, let's move back to the top of the field now. See what's happening with the front runners. Might just pause in this middle group once more. White on screen. Measham riding nicely. Sampson. Wilkinson. Littlewood really should be in category B. Maybe along with Watts. Langan riding nicely. This is the reverse KOM. And might just have a look further back and see what happens towards the rear of the field. I can't bear to watch at the moment. I will look here and see what goes on. Shannon in there. Missed Shannon again. He's there somewhere. There he is. Nothing happening in the sense no one's pushing above the level of the group. It is stretching out a little bit with Hindley pulling away. Littlewood staying with the front runners, but those at the rear, Hindley, for example, right now is closing that gap down and brought out a power up featherweight, which he's certainly taking advantage of. Now it looks to be, let's see if we can find out who it is. Sampson at the front of the BCC riders. Shannon right behind him, as is Littlewood. And they have ahead of them, next up for BCC is Langan and Walker. Are they going into a super tuck? Let's hope so. Yes, they are indeed. And in fact, I'm going to move back through the field just at the moment. I want to see if those riders at the rear are taking advantage of the super tuck when it comes. There's Wilkinson coming in now. Got to get up to speed first. 36 kilometers per hour. Need a bit more than that. Here we go. 42. Round the left-hand bend and it drops. Now's the time to kick hard. Get up to speed really quickly and relax. Not going fast enough for a super tuck. Not going to make it. Might just hear two riders in front on a super tuck. So this is a good example. Wilkinson on 2.8 watts per kilo trying to catch these riders in front, and they're on 0 watts per kilo. So here we have White and Measham. In fact, Hindley's first up there. In fact, we'll have a look. Sorry, we'll move further back in the field. There is White and Measham. Now, are they going to put in a bit of a kick? No, they're just pedaling, not kicking. You need to kick over the brow of that hill. Let's have a look at Watts, see what he does. Now, he's an experienced racer, experienced time trialer. Will he give it a bit of a boost? Let's see what happens. Oh, he's certainly tucking in there, but he's not on the steep part of the course yet. But here it comes. Is he going to kick? Not at 1.7 watts per kilo, he isn't. Now, I think all by himself, this is one of the challenges. End up riding by yourself. There's no real incentive to push on. 2 watts per kilo, he's not going to make it up to super tuck speed. And the riders I did want to watch were Smith and Lay. Now, Smith is just dropped off by a second from Lay. Jones is letting them get away, not deliberately, I'm sure, but they're drifting off 5 seconds ahead, 6 seconds for Lay. But I most certainly would not write him off yet. His endurance is excellent. And bear in mind, he's there's at least, I'm not mentioning any specific numbers, but there's at least 30 years between this small collection of riders. At least. I'm emphasizing the at least bit. Right, let's have a look. So the reason I'm watching Smith, not that experienced on Zwift, learning very quickly. Just want to see if he's going to take advantage of the super tuck. And here comes the left hand bend. Now's the time to kick, 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 kick. Is he going to? No, I don't think he is. And it really is a huge advantage to kick just before that bend. Up to 55, 57, 58, 59, 60. Stop pedaling. Stop pedaling. The guy behind you is catching you up and he's not pedaling at all. Now there he goes into super tuck now at 69, 70 kilometers per hour. Should have been 5 seconds earlier. Right, let's move back up to the front of the field. I don't want to miss the finishers. I should, with a bit of luck. There's Jury. No, Jury looks isolated. Something's been going on since I last looked up at the front of the field. Jury at 17.5k, so that could well mean that Charles has pulled away. He has indeed by about 35 seconds, along with Davis at 18.1 kilometers. So I will stay with these riders now until the finish. So currently we have Charles and Davis in roughly 10th and 11th position, certainly at the front of this bunch, beginning to, looks like, lap a couple of riders. No, they can't be lapping. No, indeed, that is a few riders who've pulled off the front. One of them, Lewin, which I mentioned earlier. Got a couple of other riders to work with. So they are going for the break now. There's no question of it. They are some 6 seconds ahead of Davis and Charles. So I don't think there's much chance of this peloton catching the three in front. Possible, certainly possible, if they work together. That's the key, of course, if they work together. Oh, number of viewers has gone down to 5. I must have put some people off. Anyway, let's continue. Davis, 10th place, 19k, 21.8 to the finish, 24 minutes, 25 minutes. So we're going to come in at just under 30 minutes by the looks of it. And there we can see the time gap back to Jury, 45 seconds further back. So looks as if she's hung on very well and then not managed to keep pace with these riders. But that's no great surprise. She is entitled, I think, under normal rules to ride in the category below. And is a fine rider no matter which way you measure against her. And here we go. Last time up the climb now. Is anything going to happen on this climb? Charles and Davis still hanging in there together. Are the front riders pulling away at all? Oh, it looks as if they're putting in some serious power though. And it looks as if Telford is about to get lapped. And that was Telford. Just suddenly went backwards. Looked as if he'd stopped pedalling. 10.5 watts per kilo. Yes, these leading riders really are trying to make a break now. This is a full-on attack. Breaking away from the main peloton. Charles. And it's all splintered. That push. Let's see what the gap from the front to the rear of this group is. It's around 5, 6 seconds, 4 seconds in fact. So it has all come back together again. So another prediction gone a bit wrong. So Charles has got the bit between his teeth. No, kick, kick, kick. This is the time you need to kick. Catch those guys on the downhill. Don't hang about. All these riders, apart from one there in the Super Tuck, know what they're doing. Mostly on Tron bikes. Probably the best bike for this route. Davis has been dropped 6 seconds away from Charles by himself. Looks as if he's winding it down a bit. There's Charles, 20.6 kilometers. Just over 1 kilometer to go. I can't tell exactly on my screen, but at least by the numbers now coming up for 1 kilometer to go. And so Charles is making his way right up to the very front of the race now. It's getting quite exciting. Lewin, that made the break a couple of times earlier on with a few riders, has not sustained that or maintained that breakaway. Charles has bridged the gap in a very brave display. Davis is drifting off down to 11 seconds now. It's all going to come down to the sprint. I'm just trying to work out where the finish line is. Can't remember, but it's imminent. That's it there. There goes Charles. And Charles is first across the line for BCC in about 5th or 6th position as far as I can see. Now, Davis at 21.3. There's the finish line in sight for him. So we'll let him do that. There's no one around him. And moving further back now, Jury will be next across the finish line for BCC, just having come down the reverse side of the reverse KOM, if that makes sense. 20.8k. And the finish line will come into view shortly for her. A few hundred meters to go. And then the bunches start to come in. That is Telford just ahead on his second lap. About to get swamped again. There it is. Riders up out of the saddle and kicking. Jury responds. No sign of the finish line yet, but it is just round the corner. It's an easy one to miss. Jury's up and attacking. 8.3 watts per kilo. Still pushing for it, and a good result for her. Next it looks to be Scott Rowland, as far as I can see. Anyone else from BCC around him? No. Just coming off the reverse side of the reverse KOM. It's a bit of a tongue twister. 20.8 kilometers to go, about 500 meters. Sorry, at 20.8 kilometers. Might just make it in under the 30 minutes if he gets a move on, but no real need to. 21k, 56 kilometers per hour on the flat at 5.7 watts per kilo. These riders are not hanging around. And there goes the sprint, left-hand bend. There's the finish line. And leaving him to cross that. O'Brien is next up. Who's around him? No one. He's a rider that often finishes by himself, but puts in a gutsy effort each time. 21.3k for him. Coming up for the left-hand bend. And next across the line, a further 58 seconds further back, looks to be, this is where it will get a little bit more interesting. We have in this group Walker. No other BCC riders, in fact, but there are a bunch beginning to stretch out behind. And he's not taking advantage of the Super Tuck. No, he's keen to get this race over with. 30 minutes, 47 seconds, 20.5 kilometers in as he comes out of the Super Tuck. This might be one of those rare races when I manage to capture everyone crossing the finish line. 20.8. Just looking up at the screen now. And Walker just pulling ahead of these other two riders next to him. Don't know who they are. Ah, there's Smith I saw up ahead. Missed him. There we go. Managed to get Smith before He crossed the line. And there's Walker. Back to Walker now. 21.3 kilometres. His race is nearly over. Time to relax. Well, not right now, but in about 20 seconds. There's the finish line ahead of him. Let him cross that line. No other BCC riders next to him. Next up seems to be Ware by himself. So he's pulled ahead of the group that he was with. No sign of them behind him. Happens to be Langen a further 12 seconds back. They're certainly not going to catch him in this before the end of this race. And there's the finish line for him. So let's move back to Samson. Looks to be riding well. So in this group, Littlewood, Samson, Shannon, Langen, a whole collection of riders. Now, Samson's making an early bid here by the looks of it. Is he going to get across the line first? Looks like Samson, Littlewood, Shannon, Langen crosses 2 seconds later. And I had to just jump down there to try and catch Hindley, who now approaches the finish line. No one behind him. A further minute behind him as he now crosses the finish line in just 32.5 minutes roughly is White. There he is, one rider next to him. Measham, can see, that's Measham on screen now. Can see him, sorry, that's Measham on screen now. Can see White just ahead of him. I don't think he'll close that gap down in that distance. Stranger things have happened, but we'll watch White cross the line. 21.2 kilometres. There he is out of the saddle, pushing on bravely. That's a good effort actually for no other riders from BCC around him, but from Norway by the looks of it. Jensen is keen to get ahead of him and does just that because White sat down. There's Measham. Always good for a bit of a kick at the end. Now he crosses the line. Next up is Gavin Wilkinson, coming in at just under 34 minutes. And let's see who is next. Watts. Aha! I think I mentioned Watts and Wilkinson in the same breath towards the start of the race. It's now Watts who's about 30 seconds further back. In fact, if he's not careful, he's about to get caught by Lay and Smith, who I'm very pleased to say are still together. Bear in mind they're Category D riders. And Watts, although it says Category C, really should be a Cat B rider. But clearly not on form at the moment, to be fair. But he's here, he's turned up, and he's racing, which is what it's all about, more than I'm doing. So well done. And his heart rate at his age is kind of high, so I'm not surprised he's not pushing any harder. Otherwise he'll end up like me in the hospital. And there goes Watts, the last downhill for him. He can hang on now. And he's pulled out on Lay and Smith. He will, of course, because he's going downhill and they're going up. So that gap is likely to increase. But let's have a look at them as they now reach the downhill. So the gap should now close a little. Watt seems to have taken advantage of the downhill. And there's a super tuck, nice to see. And look at that, that looks like Smith pulling ahead in the super tuck. That's how effective it is. And they were just a few seconds behind Watts, but now he's maintained the gap of 16 seconds. Looks as if it's going to stay that way to the finish now at 20.8 kilometres, 35 minutes, 40 seconds. Getting very close to the finish of this race. Only 2 viewers now. I'm disappointed in you all. The right hand bend, 21.2. Left hand bend ahead. Finish line will come into sight. Riders, of course, have that distance counting down on their screen. I don't. So we'll just watch Watts just to see if he attacks the finish. It's always a good thing to do. Now both of these riders look content to just see it out. And here we go, Smith and Lay. Now, where's my money? Then they've pulled actually 1 minute 42 seconds, I think I saw, ahead of Jones. And it is Smith going for his first win in Category D, I think. Does a superb sprint there, pulls away from Lay just at the finish line. Worked together throughout the whole race, only at the very end did Smith get up out of the saddle and pull away, which was well-timed, well-managed race. So well done. Hope to see you in Category C next week. And of course, not forgetting this rider, Jones, who always rides well in my view. I don't think we'll watch. I think there's only Jones and Telford left. Telford is now 4 minutes 40 seconds behind Jones at 18.2 kilometres. So as long as he is the last rider, we'll just watch Jones cross the line. Not often, as I said earlier, that I managed to catch every rider crossing. At least I think I have today. So there is Jones now coming up to the finish line in just under 38 minutes. And the last rider on the course this evening is Andy Telford, currently at 18.2 kilometres. So I will leave the broadcast there for tonight. Thank you all for watching. Next race, I think, is on Monday evening, I'm sure, as we get towards the end of the season. No guesses as to who's on top at the moment, but it could change. Thank you all for watching. See you next time.